Monsters are usually the main thing that will be pitted against players in almost any given D&D setting. GameMasters here, and the Radiant Citadel itself is considered to be a peaceful environment, free of conflict and without threat of a sinister monster. However, that cannot be said of the adventures that the players will find themselves going on as they ride the conquered jewels to the different lands within this book. Warning up front, though, there may be spoilers. Check this out. In the table of contents, we have this last little section that tells us quickly where the stat blocks of the new monsters are, and this is very handy, especially if you want to include one of these guys into your own campaign outside of the adventures provided in here, or if you want to simply plop on one of these into another adventure found in this book. The Wynling, for example, is found in the first adventure called Salted Legacy. If you really wanted to drop a Tlacatecolo, which is found from Fiend of Hollow Mine, by all means, drop that sucker in there. Let's jump into these monsters and see what they can do. The Wynling is a tiny fey winged creature, generally of chaotic neutral alignment. They're playful and can be trained to guard or play pranks. They like sweets and really like persimmons. They have an ability called Cloak of the Mountain that allows them to magically turn invisible, and they have Trickster's Flight, allowing them to move up to 30 feet without provoking opportunity attacks. Next up is the Soul Shaker. This thing has a large mass at its core, and then it is just long arms and hands. Generally chaotic evil, it will rip apart a body and collect the parts. They're difficult to destroy, as once they have taken enough damage to seemingly be defeated, the various arms will simply detach and make every attempt to scamper away. Over a few days, the surviving limbs can then teleport back to the location of where it was detached and will attempt to merge back together and reform. This thing can grapple with Crushing Grasp, which has +7 to hit, and if you're being held, it can cause 2d6 necrotic damage to you, and subsequently will heal itself by the same amount of damage. The Tlacatecolo, cannot pronounce it, is a demon of neutral alignment and can shapeshift, but generally initially appearing as a large bipedal owl. They bring sickness with them and feed on the suffering of mortals. The sickness is in the form of a chilling wind that can poison the target with a chill, causing 4d12 cold damage, and while poisoned, the target cannot regain lost hit points. The Aurumvorax, recognize that? I did an in-depth video showing its stat block from AD&D several videos back, but we've not seen it in 5th edition before. This one has changed a little, but not much. It has a tough hide like its predecessor and loves to eat precious metals. It's an 8-legged badger-like creature with fur of golden sheen. The Aurumvorax has no major special abilities other than it's tough, like smacking your metal sword against a wall of iron tough. There is also the Aurumvorax Den Leader, a more powerful version of this one. Can inspire advantage to the lesser Aurumvoraxes, but it can also invigorate itself and regain 1d8 +2 hit points. While innocent and cute looking, the next monster in our book is the Tlexolotl, looking a lot like what we would recognize as an axolotl, only this one is much larger and finds its home in the magma of a volcano. It is of neutral alignment. Because of its glowing magma nature, it can spread light in a 30-foot radius and is so hot that it has a fire aura, causing 2d6 fire damage to anything within 10 feet of it. It can regenerate 10 hit points at the start of its turn, although it appears that cold damage may nullify this ability. It also has an ability called Pyroclasm, where lava just erupts from its body, and that's going to cause 66 fire damage as well as 66 bludgeoning damage. The Riverine is oftentimes referred to as a waterway guardian, but it is much more than that, more of an embodiment of that particular river. They take the shape to defend their waters and will oftentimes interact with those that travel along their currents. As such, the Riverine can be of almost any alignment and are quite powerful, oftentimes having layers. It can create a phantasmal mist, which is a fog-like attack that can cause 1d8 psychic damage, and when really pressed, it will turn the ground swampy and anything that moves through that area will take 2d6 cold damage. The Riverine also has Whirlpool Step, allowing it to teleport within 30 feet of itself, provided the location is also in or on the surface of water. And if that wasn't enough, it can perform Whirlpool Rush, creating a large whirlpool in the spot that it was just previously at, which will in turn suck anything in around it, causing 1d10 cold damage. But wait, that's not all. It can also use Raging Deluge, which is what it sounds like. A torrent of water erupts that can cause 2d10 bludgeoning damage. This book is not without its dragon either. The Bakunawa is a gargantuan dragon of neutral alignment and can breathe both air and water, which also means it can both swim and fly. It is worshipped as a draconic avatar of storm and tide, and it is not unusual for this thing to attack and dish out thunder damage, as well as lightning damage, and piercing damage, and bludgeoning damage. And it can also swallow you. But there's good news. Inside its stomach, there is no acid damage to be taken. However, you will be taking 3d6 lightning damage each round you are inside. While it may be doubtful that you will go up against a Pari, as it is generally of lawful good alignment, you still may want to give it some respect. The Pari is an angelic creature that will usually only appear when they have a prophetic warning of impending doom. Those that do find themselves face to face in battle should know that it can make 3 attacks, usually with a mace that can cause 1d6 plus 5 bludgeoning damage, as well as 4d6 radiant damage. They also have an ability called Disorienting Features, in which they will attempt to flood the mind of an opponent and cause 5d10 psychic damage. They can also cast the following spells without the need of material opponents: Detect Evil, Detect Good, Cure Wounds, Lesser Restoration, Commune, Dispel Evil, and Dispel Good. Up next is the Haint, a ghostly creature that cannot move on in the process of death. Ghost-like, they can shift from their spectral form to appear as corporeal as their humanoid form that they were when they were alive. They can also mistake innocents as the ones that killed them and may try to exact their revenge upon those innocents, and as such, the Haint is generally of neutral alignment. They have an ability called Sorrowful Touch that can cause 48 plus 3 psychic damage, and Shared Sorrow. It will look upon its target and share with it its sorrow with them, causing that target to be incapacitated. Running across a Whistler for the first time may very well cause one to mess their pants. These aberrations are typically of neutral evil alignment and appear as well. You know how in the movie Predator, it has this ability to turn invisible and kind of shimmer? You can see it, but at the same time you can't. That's kind of how these things appear. They are grayish when they can be focused on. The Whisperer does not require air, food, sleep, or drink, and it can attack with an ability called Psychic Swipe that deals 2d10 plus 4 psychic damage. Further, it can teleport up to 20 feet to an unoccupied space, and check this out. It has something called Otherworldly Melody. It will telepathically whistle a 7-note tune into one's mind that can cause 6d10 psychic damage, and that target will also become frightened for 1 minute. A video or two ago, I found that the purple worm was a featured monster in the adventure Shadow of the Sun. However, that specific adventure does not include its stat block and opts to direct you to the monster manual to make use of the stat block listed there. There are also other monsters that appear in this book that you will need to reference the monster manual for as well, but the ones listed above are new to 5th edition, and their stat blocks in full can be found within this book. If you'd like to check out the video I did on the purple worm, you can check it out here. What monster from the list above are you wanting to know more details about? The Whistler fascinates me the most, but let me know in the comments below your pick of new monster. Until next our paths cross, may you avoid the massive amounts of psychic damage that any one of the just mentioned monsters can dish out.